So here we go, in with Plato. We're getting started right now, so this is exciting. If you watch all of these videos, I'm going to read pretty much every word of this whole book to you, and we're going to go through it over the next 10 weeks. And if you do this, you will be able to say for the rest of your life, you read one book of philosophy from cover to fucking cover. A lot of people never read an entire book, for starters. And oh boy, a lot of people never read a philosophy book. I mean, maybe you read a philosophy essay in college, but for a lot of, you don't read a whole book of philosophy. That's crazy. So this is going to be like an unusual experience. Interesting depends on whether you like it or not. You will probably dislike it at first, and you might still dislike it at the end, but I'm hoping some of you will like it after a while and start to see the value of it. But let's take a look at this thing. So, Plato's Phaedrus. As you can see right at the top, Phaedrus, that's the title of the book. Plato, that is the author. Translated by Benjamin Jowett, because of course Plato wrote this in ancient Greek, and we have to have somebody translate it for us. And the translation I've got, unfortunately, is an old translation. It has old-fashioned language in it. But it has the advantage of I can give it to you for free instead of making you buy a book. Where did I get it from? The Internet Classics Archive, and there's some technical information. And then it tells you who's in it. It's just Socrates and Phaedrus are sort of the two characters. By the way, please notice that the name of the book, this is the name of the book, this is the name of the author, this is the translator, this is the publisher. That's the information you're going to need for the works cited, the bibliography thing that goes to the end. Now, we're not really dealing with that right now. That's that's something that won't come up until like your second draft of your papers. So you don't need to worry about that now, but that information is right there on the handout. So you're gonna need that stuff later. So okay, here we go. We're gonna get started. As if it were a play, we get a location, scene under a plane tree by the banks of the Ilissus. That's a river. So a plane tree is probably a kind of tree, and you could find out where that river is located. But we don't. This is not a class about trees, and this is not a class about rivers, so we're not going to worry about that right now. What we're interested in is kind of the philosophy. So let's start talking and see let's start talking about it. See what they're doing. So Socrates says the first thing, "My dear Phaedrus, whence come you, and whither are you going?" So already, right from the beginning, you probably got some vocabulary words. Now, one of the reasons why I give you these things for free, I don't make you buy a book. I sort of give it to you for free so you can download it. And if you can print it out, that's helpful because then you can take notes on it. You can underline things, and you can circle things, and you can put question marks by things, and you can put stars by things. And there's all kinds of stuff you can do. You can write down ideas, questions in the sides. If you can print it out, I would recommend doing that. I think it's really helpful. And I notice what I've done is I've squished the words, so there's so few words per page. Sorry, there's a lot of bugs out here. There's so few words per page. I mean, there's so many words per page. It won't cost you a lot to print it out. It's only like 24 pieces of paper, which is only going to cost you like $2 to print out or something. So I'd recommend printing it if you can. You can download it and email it to a copy shop, and they'll print it for you. Or I don't know what you have access to. But the reason why you're going to want it's helpful to print it is because you're going to need to make some notes. Because right from the very first sentence, whence and whither are old-fashioned words that you probably do not have. So one of the first things we're going to need to do is go to the dictionary. You are going to be going to the dictionary a lot. So let's just start by going to Google, which is a perfectly good place to get started on this kind of thing. So here's the Google page. All right. So what do we want to know? We want to know the definition. We want to know the. Oh, I see the problem here. Okay. Okay. So we want to know. Okay. Sorry, I'm having some computer issues right now. I'm seeing a problem here. Let's go close that here. Okay. Sorry, bringing this up. All right. So we have Google here. So what we want to know is definitions of words. So let's start with whence. WHENCE. Definition. It comes up right there. Whence definition. From what place or source, right? Meaning where are you coming from? Whence is like, so he says, whence come you? Meaning where are you walking from? Okay, it's pretty easy. We can totally handle that. Let's do another one. Let's do whither definition. WHITHER. Whither definition. To what place or state? Whither are we bound? I like these because you get a definition and then you get an example sentence. This is very helpful. So just right there, we've looked up 2 words, and your vocabulary is increasing already. But he says, whence come you? The first sentence is, my dear Phaedrus, whence come you and whither are you going? Please notice, by the way, you probably could have guessed those definitions. It's not too hard to guess. Whence come you and whither are you going? Right? Where did you come from and where are you on your way to? He's essentially just bumping into this guy in the street. And he wants to know, oh, where are you coming from? Where are you going to? That's it. But you see what I did there? I took what Plato said, whence come you and whither are you going? And then I, in other words, put it in my own words. Where did you come from and where are you going? This is a stupid example. It's not an interesting piece of philosophy, but it does show you what you need to do in the class, which is you have to be able to put it the way you would put it. I would never use, neither of us would use whence or whither. They are old-fashioned words. We would just say, where are you coming from and where are you going? So we're not going to do that for every single word in here, but I just wanted to start off. The point is that you may be used to reading things that you just read and you understand them and you move on with your life. This does not work like that. You are going to have to stop. You're going to have to look stuff up. You're going to have to ask questions. And every once in a while, and I'll show you when I do this, you're going to have to be like, I'm not going to look that up. The Ilyssus is a river. I don't care. I don't care about rivers right now, so it's not a class on rivers. So I could look up the river, we could get a map, we can go on Google Maps, we can try to figure out, it probably has a new name now because this is from 2,500 years ago, they probably don't call it that anymore, or maybe they do, we could find out. But since it's not a research class on rivers, I'm not really going to worry about it. So sometimes you're going to need to look things up to understand them, and sometimes you're going to be like, I don't care about that. I'll give you an example of something else you won't care about, and that I don't care about either, in 1 second. So Phaedrus tells Socrates where he's coming from and where he's going. Notice, by the way, you could have figured out whither and whence, because Phaedrus says, I come from Lysias. So he's coming from some guy's house. Lysias is going to be an important person. He is not a character who will have any lines of dialogue. But Lysias is a speechwriter. He's also kind of a sleazy speechwriter, but we'll talk about that later. Lysias is a guy who writes speeches for a living. And Lysias is a guy who will say whatever he can to get you to agree with him. We're going to be talking, the two of them, Socrates and Phaedrus, are going to be talking about Lysias quite a bit. So there's not, by the way, not very many names you need to remember, but Lysias is one of them. There's about 5 names total you should be familiar with in this whole dialogue. And Lysias is an important guy because they're going to be talking about him for the whole book. He's a guy who writes speeches. And so Phaedrus is going to tell him about the speech that he heard, and then Socrates is going to say, I could do a better job than that speech. And then Socrates is going to say, oh shit, Lysias is wrong. I'm going to give another speech about why he's wrong. And then at the end of the book, they're going to be like, is Lysias a good person? Let's find out. So Lysias is important. But notice, right off the bat, Lysias, son of Cephalus. I don't know who that is. I don't care who that is. That's just his dad. It's basically like his last name. But they're trying to identify, well, which Lysias do you mean? Well, the guy whose dad is Cephalus. You don't need to remember that. It's never going to come up again. We could look it up and see if he's a famous person for something, but it doesn't matter. I don't think we need this, so we're just going to keep going and skip it. I come from Lysias, son of Cephalus, and I'm going to take a walk outside the wall, for I have been sitting with him the whole morning, and our common friend, Acumenius, tells me that it is much more refreshing to walk in the open air than to be shut up in a cloister. So again, there's another character, Acumenius. I'm going to tell you right now, that dude's not going to come up again, so don't worry about him. You can forget his name. You can do some research, see if he's a famous person, but it doesn't. The guy's not going to get mentioned anymore. Lysias is important, but Lysias' dad, not important. Phaedrus' friend who told him you should take a walk outside the city, not important, not going to come up again. So this is something you're going to have to do. And part of this involves reading ahead. You have to read ahead. And only when you finish the book are you like, oh, that's not important. He never came up again. So this is a tricky part about reading, is you have to be paying attention, but you have to look up some things so you can follow what's basically going on. But if you stop to look up every single thing, you're never going to get anything read. So, and then at the end, you might be like, oh shit, that Acumenius guy was important. I need to find out more about him. But this is not that moment. So, all right, I will see you guys in the next video, but we are getting started on Plato, and this is exciting. I know it's not exciting yet, but it's exciting for me because I like Plato.